Namaste. This session is about cultivating resilience, and it might be useful to have the back of a chair or a wall nearby for use in one of the sequences later on in this class. We're going to start today from lying down. Come to lying on your back, on your mat. And you can choose to have the knees bent, feet flat on the floor, or stretch the legs out long in Shavasana. Closing your eyes if you wish. I want you to bring your attention to the breath. Watching the breath coming in and out of the body. And starting to become aware of which parts of the body are touching the ground, which bits are in contact with the mat, and what changes as you breathe. So on the inhale, feel the expansion in the stomach, in the ribs, in the chest. On the exhale, let everything settle down. Release and relax and arrive in the here and now. So what is resilience? It's the ability to be able to bounce back from adversity, to adapt to change or misfortune or insecurity, instability. It's our choice. It's about our choice of how we react to something. Can we stay as even as it's possible to be? Or do we wildly react and swing between states and moods? We can really use the breath to help develop and cultivate resilience. So we're going to work on that today. And I want you to also start firing up the core, which will be useful for physical resilience. So we're talking about physical, mental, and emotional resilience. So bending your knees and having the feet flat on the floor. I want you to bring your hands and rest them on the front of your hips, the front of the ribs. And becoming aware of the breath as we breathe in, noticing the natural arch that we have in our lower back. And as we breathe out, drawing the belly down towards the floor, see if you can make a bit more of your back come in contact with the mat. So on the inhale, we're releasing that. On the exhale, we're using the tummy muscles contracting towards the spine to flatten the back out on the floor. And continue this, feeling the pelvic tilts, rocking backwards and forwards. Think of lifting the pelvic floor as you exhale, a little squeeze of the muscles that crisscross from side to side of the hips and front to back of the pubic bone and the tailbone, lifting them up. Giving them a squeeze on the exhale, then releasing. And then engaging the glutes a little bit. So squeezing in on the exhale, releasing on the inhale. Think of hugging everything in towards the center as you breathe out. And releasing and relaxing into the natural curves and the way that your body settles on the inhale. Couple more rounds like this. And then drawing your knees over the chest. Have a little hug, maybe a rock from side to side. And I want you to take your knees to 90 degrees. So the shins are going to be parallel with the floor and the knees rising up above your hips. Flex the feet, and you've got the choice of resting the hands on the hips, with the elbows on the floor, or taking the fingertips up to the sky, drawing the shoulders back, keeping it nice and relaxed on the floor. And we're going to work on using our core muscles to make some movements and keep them controlled and slow. So I want you to inhale just as you are here. As you exhale, drawing all those core muscles into play, point the right toes and slowly tap the floor. And then inhale, come back up to the center, shins parallel with the floor, level with each other. Exhale, point the left toes, tap the floor. Moving slowly and mindfully, the arms get achy, they can come down, hands resting on the hips. And seeing if this creates tension in the jaw or in the neck, if you can keep the upper body relaxed, whilst everything from the ribs down to the thighs are working on supporting the back, keeping that stable whilst we make these movements. One more time each side. So next time you're tapping the left toes on the floor, and there's no rush, bringing that back to stability, and then taking the knees over the chest to have a hug. By the way, if you felt that too strongly in the back, then bringing the knees towards you and taking the feet down towards the floor is going to keep that a little more relaxed. So now have a rock from side to side, maybe rotate the knees around in a circle. Now we're going to roll onto our side, press ourselves up to sitting, and transfer to a kneeling tabletop pose. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips, unless you want to take this on forearms or fists, pressing into the palms, spreading the fingers, ready for feeling into our cat-cow postures. So inhaling, making the spine nice and long. Exhale, rounding the back up to the sky, dropping the head for cat stretch. And inhale, lifting the heart, lifting the head for our cow pose. Transitioning between those two. Again, engaging the core muscles today so that we're moving the spine mindfully and with control. Couple more times before easing yourself down into child's pose, taking the hips back, resting the head on the ground or on the hands if you prefer. And then walking the hands towards you, sitting back on your heels if this is comfortable for you. If it's not, then do swing your feet round in front of you. And we'll be doing some cat-cow movements in a sequence, and I'd like you to take that seated. So cat stretch, rounding the back, cow pose, lifting the heart, lifting the chest, and for child pose, releasing the head down towards the knees. Okay, if you're okay sitting back on your heels and indeed kneeling up on your knees, you might want to pad up the knees with a blanket or flip the front of the mat over. I'm going to bring the hands to the heart to start with, and you might choose to lift the arms and move the body without rising high up on the knees. That's absolutely fine as well. So our first inhale is going to lift the hands up, maybe rising up to kneeling. And then the exhale is going to take the left hand forward, the right hand back as you turn to your right. This could be a big turn or a little turn. Inhale through the center, and you can have the hands at the heart if you want to as you're turning the other way. You could do this with the hands in front of the heart. You don't have to lift them all the time. Exhale, coming down to the ground for a cat stretch. So round the back up to the ceiling. Inhale, lifting the heart, lifting the head for cow pose. Exhale, sinking back to child pose for a beat. And then walking yourself back up to our starting position. If you decide seated would be better for you, that's absolutely fine. So the inhale lifts the arms or keeps them in front of the heart. The exhale turns to the right. Left hand forward, right hand back. Inhale through the center. Exhale other way. Controlling how much you twist, it's up to you. Inhale center, exhale cat stretch. Inhale cow pose. Exhale child or bowing down over your knees if you're sat with the legs in front of you. And then coming back to an upright position. Once more in your own time. So you choose whether you're lifting the arms up over your head. You can look up if you want, whether you're keeping them at the heart center. Let your breath lead you through the center and to each side for the twist. See if you can slow things down, trying not to rush. Coming down to the earth for a cat and cow pose. And when you get to child pose, staying there. Maybe widening the knees with the big toes touching, releasing down as much or as little as you want to. And always feel free to change child pose for a crocodile on your tummy or an alternate position which to you feels restful. We're going to come up to kneeling, and you're welcome to work on your forearms here. We're going to start moving between our kneeling tabletop pose, front and back to start with. So maybe shoulders coming a little forward of the wrists, maybe hips going back towards the ankles. As much or as little as you like. And then we're going to take this into some hip circles. So the hips are going out to the side and back, side and forward. Let the elbows bend to facilitate that movement. And let your breath guide you in whichever way feels good for you. 3 or 4 times round one way and then changing direction, making hip circles the other way. And you're controlling how big these circles are. They might be tiny so that you're in the middle of your tabletop pose doing this, or they might be really big, almost coming into a cobra at the front, child pose at the back. And then bringing that back to stillness, we'll do some barrel rolls with the tummy. So again, you can do this on forearms if you prefer. Let's round the back into our cat stretch, really draw the belly up to the ceiling. And then take the ribs to the right-hand side, drop the belly and the hips forward for cow pose, take it to the left-hand side, and then back up into a cat stretch. So rolling the tummy as though you were drawing circles in the air. Again, 3 or 4 times round in one direction and then shifting and changing to the other direction. So we're warming up the spine in all sorts of directions with these movements. And then again, coming to stillness, finding that stillness. We're all going to walk the hands forward for puppy dog pose. The hips stay over the knees for this. We melt the heart down towards the floor. And we take the crown of the head and the sit bones at the back of the hips in the opposite direction, finding length in the spine. And you can bring your forearms down onto the floor, either keeping the palms flat, or you can link the fingers together, so making a kind of triangle with your forearms. Tuck the bottom little finger in so it doesn't get squished. I'm going to move from puppy dog on an exhale, taking our weight forward to a supported half forearm plank on the inhale, moving back and forwards between those postures. Puppy dog, exhale, forearm plank, inhale. If you want to make it a bit stronger, you can tuck the toes so that when you come into your plank, you can lift the knees as well. So 2 or 3 more of these. And then coming to rest, either on your tummy, kneeling, or in child pose. And you can decide whether you're going to repeat that in a minute or have a go at the down dog to plank version. If you want to take down dog, then coming to all fours, hands are a little bit in front of the shoulders. Tuck the toes, inhale to prepare, exhale, lift the hips, and walk out your legs in down dog, bending one knee then the other, getting that stretch down the back of the legs. And then a good way of telling if your hands and feet are the right distance away from each other is to exhale here in your down dog, and then on the inhale, float forwards to plank. And you shouldn't need to move hands or feet if you're the right distance. You might need to adjust it and then come back to down dog. So I'm going to shift between those two postures, really engaging all the core muscles, either holding in plank or dropping down to the knees, but try not to lose that core engagement. Exhale in down dog. Inhale in plank or half plank. You might be working between puppy dog and that forearm plank. So 2 or 3 more times, trying to keep the breath steady. And then when you feel it's time to rest down, you can come to kneeling or back to downward facing dog. And let's start walking the feet forwards into a forward fold. Letting the knees bend, be soft. Let the neck be free by a little shake and nod of the head. And you're welcome to let the arms dangle or hold opposite elbows. In your forward fold, coming inwards, noticing how those initial movements have made you feel in the body, in the mind. And then let's stretch out those hamstrings a little bit. We're going to come in and out of a squat. So walk the feet out a little bit wider, maybe as wide as your mat, turning the toes out at an angle, so pointing the toes. And let's start by bringing our forearms onto our thighs. Bend the knees. Inhale there. On the exhale, lift the hips up, bow the head down into a forward fold. You can straighten the legs as much as you want to, and then come back to your squat. Maybe coming down a little lower, if that's okay, on the legs and the knees. Bowing down into your forward fold on the exhale. Inhaling, seeing how low your squat is today. So maybe now staying in Balasana with the hips down by the ground, your hands could come in front of the heart, or perhaps you're a little more upright, staying with the forearms on the thighs, working into your squat at whatever level is right for you. Again, breathing. Are you okay with a little level of discomfort? Can you stay with that? What happens to the breath, the heart rate, the mind? You breathe through that little bit of discomfort, couple more breaths. And then returning to a forward fold, stretching out the legs, heel toeing them so that they're hip width apart again. And then letting the feet press down into the floor, wiggling the toes, trying to make the feet wide as possible. Press down, root down into the floor, and then rise up. Whether you're going to roll up, whether you want to lift up with a flatter back, you're welcome to lift the hands at the top of the pose or not. And come into mountain pose. So rolling the shoulders back, hands, palms facing forward. Lift up through the crown of the head, maybe closing your eyes. And again, scan through the body. So the more we can keep revisiting our internal world and checking how we're doing and reassuring ourselves that, okay, we've tried something and we're still okay, we're ready for the next challenge. We can keep on an even keel. So our balance today is going to be warrior 3. To start with, let's try this upright. Later in the class, I want you to see if you can come into it a little deeper, but we're going to use a wall or a chair. So for now, you're okay on your mat, unless you know your balance is not great. You might want to have a wall that you can reach out and touch, or the back of the chair you can reach out and touch. We're going to press into our left foot and step back with the right toes. So you're at an angle in that back foot, your weight is over the front foot, and shoot the hands back at the same angle as that back leg. Imagine there's lightning bolts coming out of your fingers. Lift the chest, and I want you to think about the crown of the head and the back heel or the back toes reaching away from each other. Little bend in that standing knee, just a micro bend, taking the weight into that front leg, lifting the back toes off of the floor. And notice here, if that right hip lifts up, we're trying to keep the hips level. Now in our warrior 3, the more we tilt forward, the more we have to lift that foot. So just have a little explore for now. Keep the chin tucked so that you're not crunching the back of the neck. Breath is slow and steady. And you're going to rise up again. So just an exploratory warrior 3 for now. And then shift and give that go on the other foot. So the left toes come back behind you, and you find this strength, this lovely line through the body, like I strapped a broom now to the back of your body, and you're staying in line with that broom. This time, try bringing the hands to prayer pose in front of the heart. See how that is for your balance. When you're ready, you can lift the toes off of the floor, and remember, however far you come forward, that back foot has to lift up. Try flexing the foot or pointing it. What helps with your balance? We want that internal rotation of the back leg. It's really easy to stick the foot out to the side a bit. So try and keep everything in line, hips parallel with the floor. Let your gaze settle on a fixed point, rising up again. And bringing the feet to the floor. So reassuring yourself, I can stay in balance, I can come back upright. And then I want you to try a little Shiva squat with me. This is like a curtsy that we can bring into a balance if you want. So first of all, again, pressing into the left foot. We're going to take the right foot behind us so that the thighs are crossed. And then let's take the hands to the heart. Let's inhale. As we exhale, we're bending the knees, and then you can tease the back foot off the floor if you want to. So it can touch up and down off the floor if you want, or you can hold it off the floor and breathe. Okay, once the body's got used to that, you think, yeah, okay, come upright again, place the foot down. Let's give it a go on the other side. So you're welcome this time. As you take your left foot behind you, you can take the arms down by the side as we did in our warrior 3 to start with, or you might lift them up to the sky or bring them to the heart. So options for the arms. Normally, the more extended the arms are, the trickier the balance is. So give it a go. You've got the modifications to make as and when you wish. Inhaling upright, exhale, curtsying down, bending those knees. That's up to you. If you lift that foot up and stay there, or if you touch the toes up and down off the mat. I find flexing my foot in both of those postures helps my balance, but discover what's right for you. See if you can rise up, push down into that standing foot to rise back up, bringing the hands down by your sides, the feet down to the floor, and coming back to mountain pose. Again, that reassurance to the body and mind. I'm back in stability, ready to go. Lovely. Okay, remember that. And we're going to bring the hands now to the heart, and we're going to do some lifts up and down with the breathing. If you don't want to lift the hands up higher than the shoulders, then let this be more of a qigong movement with the hands flowing up and down in front of the heart space. Otherwise, inhale, lifting the arms out to the side and up. Nice, big, deep breath, pausing at the top, turning the palms out the other way, and exhaling, seeing if you can make that slower. So we'll bring it in a count, but you can do whichever count is right for you. So the inhale, we're breathing in, maybe 2, 3, 4. You can come up on your toes if you want, and then hold for that transition, and then exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6. Keep going with that. So inhaling, 2, 3, 4, pausing at the top. Maybe you lengthen the pause, maybe you don't, it's up to you. And then exhaling with control, a bit longer, letting that exhale be longer than the inhale. So keep this going 2 or 3 more times. Coming up on the toes or not. If that throws out the breath, then that's something for another day. Make this your last round. There's no rush. Using those core muscles to stabilize the posture, especially for that hold. Body likes to feel stability, so a little squeeze of the buttocks, little engagement in the thighs, draw the tummy up, and then settle. Settle back into standing. Good. So useful to be able to train the breath with movement and a little bit of balance maybe as well. Let's turn to the side now. Turn to your left, ready for some warrior postures. This is when it might be useful to move things over to the wall. I'll shout, actually, we're going to break down these sequences into 2 sections today. So yeah, so you don't need it just yet. Let's step nice and wide on our mat and turn the right toes to the front. Adjust that back foot into your warrior stance, trying to keep the hips parallel to the long edge of your mat. Inhale, lift the arms out, shoulder height. Exhale, bend the right knee and come into your warrior 2. So dropping the hips down on each exhale, maybe rising up again a little bit on the inhale. Letting that foot come forward if you can take it a little deeper. If that knee is going way over the front foot, then you can widen the gap between the feet. Let the heart lift, let the gaze be strong. If you want to take the hands to the hips instead of lifting them out to the side, that's fine. But have that feeling that you're looking into the horizon. And this, for me, is the posture that makes me feel resilient. I can sort out any problems. I can face any challenges. Lift the tummy, tuck the tailbone. engage all those core muscles as though you're drawing everything in and feel strong. Then we're going to transition to triangle. So inhale, straightening the front leg. Exhale, reaching forward, then down, letting the hand lightly land on your shin, or you can always use a block if you prefer. And the top hand can either stay on your hip or lift to the sky. Spread the fingers if they're lifted out and feel like you're reaching out expansively in all directions. So the crown of the head lengthens away from the hips. The feet push into the floor and the hand or the elbow lifts to the sky. Nice big slow breaths here. Lovely stuff. And then bend that front knee, rising up to warrior two once more. Let's spin the hands down to the floor. Frame the front foot, turn the back toes. All 10 toes pointing to the front of the mat now. Drop the back knee down, either tucking or untucking those back toes. We're going to lift into Anjaneyasana. Steady if you want to, taking it a stage at a time, coming onto the thighs, hands to the heart, or continuing to lift them into the air. Good. Draw that tummy away from the front thigh. Even if you're now going to take it into a little more of a back bend, letting the hips come forward, the tummy keeps these core muscles supporting all around the side waist, squeeze of the bum for those core muscles to help the spine feel stable. So big breaths here, either looking up or straight ahead. Big inhale to finish. And exhale, framing the front foot once more. So tuck the toes, have a little rock forward from foot to foot with that back knee lifted, and then have a push off from the back foot into a forward fold. And we're going to come slowly up to standing, breaking this down today. And now we're going to come into our warrior three and Shiva squat sequence. So it might be wise to have something to balance your hands lightly on, not to grip on for dear life, maybe a wall. And it's a little bit of trial and error, getting the right distance between yourself and the wall or yourself and the chair, so that you lean forward and you're touching something for security. And the more that you want to take your warrior three into a T shape, then the further away you're going to want to be to the wall. So start somewhere in between. You can always adjust. This first time is about learning what's right for you. So we're going to press down into the left foot, lifting the right foot up behind us, really pointing those toes down to the floor, or the front of the thigh down to the floor. So even if you're pointing toes rather than flexing the foot, let's get that all lined up and those hips are staying level. And you're staying in your warrior three for a good breath there. And then we're going to transition from here into our Shiva squat. So bend the left knee, bring the right knee to the outer edge of it, doing your curtsy, curtsying down nice and controlled. Toes can tap the floor or not, taking a breath, and then slowly transitioning back to warrior three, taking the leg out. And you could be far more upright than I'm showing, as long as you're in that nice straight line. Twice more. So with control, use the breath. Use those core muscles that we've been training to control these movements. Making it mindful, feel into the body. Listen to the breath. If it gets ragged, you're always welcome to stand up. That's where we're going to finish. Otherwise, one more time. Using your breath length for each of these postures. When you're ready, rising up, bringing both feet to the floor, and take a moment in your mountain pose. Observe. So listen for the heart rate. Notice the breath. Maybe Noticing other sensations in the body, muscles that have been working or heat that's been created. And let it settle, closing your eyes or soft gaze down at the floor. Bring yourself back to equilibrium. Notice if the mind flies off with stories or judgments. Bring everything back into your practice, into your body. Be here and now. And then we're going to do it the other side. So returning to your mat, if you had to go off to the wall or the chair. Turning to the right this time. Taking a nice wide stance again, turning the left toes to the front of the mat. Adjusting the back foot. Inhale, lifting the arms, look down that left arm. Exhale, strike your pose, your warrior two, and feel strong and resilient. If there was a gale force wind blowing, feel that you might sway, you might adjust and adapt, but you wouldn't be blown over. You're that strong. So imagine the feet are drawing towards each other, almost as if you were lifting up, but that the hips are heavy, sinking down. Tailbone tucked, tummy lifted. That will give you that feeling of courage, of strength, of inner resilience. And if I had a pane of glass, there are two panes of glass coming towards each other. As we transition to triangle, you're going to stay nice and flat between those panes of glass. So inhale, the leg comes straight, tilt the hips back, reach forward and then down, either hand to the hip, or if you're okay, rotating the shoulder up to point to the ceiling, then maybe you're lifting the hand up in this lovely extended triangle position. Now remember those panes of glass squeezing in towards each other. Can you tuck that left hip, that left buttock under a little more? Roll the top shoulder back a little more, extend out through the head and all of the limbs, keeping the breath going. Super. And then bend that front knee. Inhale, come back into warrior two. Feel established, brave. Inhale, and then exhale, cartwheeling the hands around to frame the front foot, turning the back toes, and you're in your runner's lunge. Let the hips adjust and adapt to this position. You can drop the back knee down immediately if you prefer. Lengthen out through the back heel and the crown of the head, finding space, and then everybody dropping the back knee down, padding it up if you prefer. And the back toes can stay tucked or toes flat on the ground, whatever is right for you. And you can lift up in one movement or come up in stages, choosing to bring the hands above the head to the heart. They could stay on your thigh or on your hips for your crescent lunge. Inhaling spaciousness, length. Exhaling, choosing whether you're making more of a crescent shape or you're staying much more upright. Okay, remember this is your practice, your test of resilience. Listen to your body, make your own challenges, work with your edges. Nice big inhale to finish. Exhaling, hands coming down to frame that front foot. Tuck the back toes, lift the knee, little rock forwards and back into your forward fold. And from your forward fold, press down into the ground and choose how you're rising up, rolling up or floating up with a flat back. Maybe the hands come above the head, but we all finish coming back to Tadasana, taking a breath and thinking, right, how am I going to do my warrior three and my Shiva squat this time? So you'll know about the right place to stand if you used a chair or a wall. So straightening yourself up, ready for the challenge, reaching forwards and pressing into the right foot this time, lifting the left leg behind you and come as far forward as you want to. But remember, the more you tilt the chest, the more you have to lift that back leg. So it could be very upright, you could be making a T shape or anything in between. When you feel balanced, when you feel the hips are nice and level, parallel with the floor still, inhaling, and as you exhale, you bend the right knee and you draw the left knee around the back and to the side of it, curtsying down. Choose whether those toes touch the ground or not. Inhale back into warrior three. Twice more, nice and slow and controlled. You can take a breath in each pose, or you could do really, really slow transitions from one to the other without stopping. Okay, make it your practice, your balance, your challenge of resilience. And when you're ready, trying to rise up in a dignified way, coming back to standing, where we'll meet once more in our mountain pose and notice. So no rush if you're still doing that sequence. But again, closing your eyes or a soft focus will help you come inwards and think, how was that? So maybe it was different one side to the other. Maybe the second time you did it, the body and the brain was a bit more familiar with where legs and arms were going, what needed to be done to keep you balanced. And each time you're bringing yourself back to this state of equilibrium. So nice, deep, slow breaths. We're going to head down towards the floor through a squat. So again, feet wider than hip width apart, maybe mat width, with the toes pointed out to the edge of the mat helps. And we're getting an inhale nice and tall. Exhale, bringing the hands down onto the thighs, or you can bring them to the heart. Squatting down, nice tall spine, and then coming up again. So do that twice more, maybe going a little deeper each time, seeing how your squat has or hasn't developed. Maybe it's different to the first time we did it. Maybe you're thinking, no, I don't want to go down into a squat, but coming down into either a standing squat or malasana, right down near the floor. You can always take some blocks and sit on the blocks, trying to open out into this seated squat, but with that support, takes any pressure off the ankles and knees, which might cause an issue. And you're welcome to work between your squat and your forward fold again for a few more breaths, or stay in your squat and see if you can develop a little resilience there. So I'm deliberately putting you into these positions which challenge your level of comfort, your idea of comfort and discomfort, and seeing if you can breathe through that and be okay with it. So you'll be glad to know we're coming down to sitting now. If you're down near the floor, you might roll back and sit down. If you're higher up, then come into a forward fold, walk the feet closer together, maybe come to kneeling, and work your way around so that we're all coming to a seated posture that's comfortable for you. So it could be kneeling, cross-legged, legs out in front, and we're going to explore a little breath work. So making yourself comfy. Now, some of you will have already done alternate nostril breathing with me before. This is a variation of that, where we breathe in through the left nostril each time, and we breathe out through the right nostril each time. Now, I'm not going to mirror you because I'll get thumbs and fingers muddled up. So I want you to take your right hand and the index finger and middle finger, place them between your eyebrows. This place we call the third eye, helps you focus. The right thumb is going to rest lightly against the nostril, the right fleshy part of the nostril, and the right ring finger rests against the left side of the nostril, and the little finger can just rest against it. And you don't have to press hard or make big movements. It can be really subtle, but what we're going to do is encourage closing and opening of each nostril. And you can support your elbow if you want to with the other hand, or have it in your lap. So drop the shoulders, close the eyes if that's okay for you. And let's take a nice deep breath in and out through both nostrils. And then press the thumb lightly down onto your right nostril, leaving the left nostril open, and take a slow, deep inhale. When you've filled up, press down on the left fleshy part of the nostril to close the left nostril. Lift the thumb, opening the right nostril. Breathe out through the right nostril. Press down, close the right nostril, open the left nostril, breathe in. Close the left nostril, open the right nostril, breathe out. I want you to develop your own rhythm now. But each time you're breathing in through the left, out through the right. And you might find there's a slight pause at the bottom of that exhale before you feel the need to breathe in again. Just looking for it, noticing it, don't force it. For some people, it might be a microsecond. For some people, it might be several seconds. So I'm not going to lead you any more in the breath. Just keep thinking. Inhale through the left nostril. Exhale through the right nostril. And this pranayama, this breathing practice, is called Chandra Vedana, the moon-piercing breath. And what it does is stimulate the left energy side of the body. In yoga, we have energy channels called nadis, and it's stimulating this main left nadi, which is responsible for soothing. So it is the feminine energy, the moon energy, the softer, more static, restful energy, and it switches on your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of the nervous system that says everything is okay. The muscles can relax. The brain can slow down. The heart rate can slow down. And the breath can get deeper. And it brings us into this homeostasis, which actually is our natural state. This state of rest and digest. Takes us away from the hyper-vigilant, sometimes full of anxiety state that we wander around in, and says, it's okay. You can rest and relax. So enjoy a few more rounds of Chandra Vedana. And next time you're exhaling out, let the hand fall away from the face, resting the hands on your thighs or in your lap. Taking a few rounds of natural breath now through both nostrils and observing whether the breath has slowed right down, whether the body feels softer, the mind, has it stilled, is it not quite as busy? Don't worry if that's not true for you, just observing whether that's the case. And then we're going to transition onto the floor Not quite at relaxation yet, but bring with you anything you might need to keep you warm or to make you more comfortable at the end of the practice. So a pair of socks or some blankets or extra layers. Just have them handy and ease yourself down to lying on the mat. Feet flat on the floor, knees bent, and we're going to take eye of the needle pose or reverse pigeon. We're going to start having a little wriggle, make yourself comfortable on the floor and lift the right knee over the chest, hugging it in, maybe linking your fingers in front of the shin, squeezing the leg towards you, telling this hip and this thigh we're going to do some work. And then resting that right ankle up on the front of the left thigh, up near the knee, and letting the right knee drop away from you. This is a figure 4 pose, and you're welcome to stay here for the next few breaths. You can rest your hands down on your hips with the elbows on the floor. Maybe you want to lift the left foot off the ground, bringing the legs towards you, and this is going to increase the sensation around the right hip. You might then link your right hand, thread it through the legs and link it with the left fingers behind the left thigh. And see if the head and the neck are still relaxed. If that's brought them into tension or they're lifting off the floor, drop the foot back down and release. If you're happy here, flex both feet. See how that intensifies the posture. And if it's still really comfy and you're not feeling much of a stretch anywhere, then try linking the fingers in front of the shin and drawing the legs towards you on the exhale, releasing a little bit on the inhale. Maybe closing the eyes, sending the breath to where you're feeling any sensations of stretch, tightness. And then letting that left foot drop down onto the floor if it's not there already. And crossing your legs. So that right thigh is dropping over the top of the left thigh. We're going to take a twist now with our legs crossed. If that's uncomfortable on your back, if it's painful, definitely uncross your legs to do this, but otherwise give it a go. Take the arms out, shoulder height in a T shape. Inhale here, exhale, let the knees drop over to the right hand side. Trying to keep the shoulders on the floor. Don't worry if the knees don't come to the floor. It's unlikely they will. Closing the eyes and again coming inwards and identifying sensations. So you might feel a stretch. It might be around the hip, across the sacrum, up through the ribs or over the shoulders, different for everybody. And you can choose to turn your gaze, your nose in the opposite direction of the knees or keep it pointing up to the sky. And again, let the breath settle you. Can you work with this strange position? Any feelings of discomfort? Never pain. You can always uncross the knees and stack the knees on top of each other in a more usual twist, or stay in constructive rest. Otherwise, a couple more deep breaths. Maybe the knees drop away just that tiny bit more this last breath. And then lifting the knees up towards the ceiling, uncrossing the legs, feet find the floor, and make sure you're back in a central line, head, shoulders, hips, knees, ankles, all in line. Bringing the hands back onto the front of the hips, the pelvis, ready to do that on the other side. So inhale the left knee towards you, hugging it in, squeezing that left thigh towards the belly. Suggesting we're going to do a little bit of work here, get ready muscles. And then taking the left ankle, balancing the foot up by the right knee, letting the left knee drop out to the side. Even if you know you're going to take it deeper, allow a couple of breaths in each stage. And it could be really different on one side to the other. So if you want to now, lifting the right foot, flexing both feet, loop the arms around the back of that right thigh. So you're threading the left arm through the legs, through the eye of the needle. And then checking that the neck and the jaw still feel comfortable. You haven't brought loads of tension into the upper body. If you want to take it deeper, you can link the hands around the front of the right shin instead of around the back of the right thigh. And every exhale, perhaps you draw the legs a little closer to you. And every inhale, you release. Only if you're looking for more sensation. If there's plenty enough already, remember you can take any of those options that I've offered. Couple more deep, slow breaths. And let the right foot gradually find the floor. And then the left leg crosses over the top of the right thigh. Take the arms out, shoulder height, preparing for your twist. Inhaling, exhaling. This time, the knees dropping away to the left. And noticing if it feels different on this side to the other side. Can you stay with it? Do you need to make adjustments? Where's the stretch on this side? Maybe it's somewhere different, maybe across the front of the shoulder or the front of the pelvis instead of the back, or vice versa. Maybe it's more down the side of your body than it was last time. Choose whether to turn the head to the right or keep the nose pointed up to the sky. Can you breathe space into where there's resistance? And use the exhale to breathe out tension. Are you okay staying with this posture? You're building your resilience, but you need to know when to adjust and come out. Okay, so this is a process. It's like flexing a muscle. We need to build resilience over time. So make this your last big exhale. And then inhale, lifting the knees up, placing both feet on the floor. Now's the time to get ready for relaxation. You're welcome to keep the feet on the floor, let them be wide apart and rest the knees together, making a little triangle shape so that they're very supported and constructive rest pose. The hands can either be down by your sides or resting on the pelvis, but let the elbows be supported. Or you might prefer to stretch the legs out long, let the toes drop out to the side, away from each other. Feeling your way into Shavasana, palms up to the sky is a very opening gesture, accepting. Of course, putting on extra layers over you to keep warm. Maybe something under your head. And having a last wriggle and fidget before coming to stillness. Closing the eyes if that's okay for you. And I want you once again to bring your attention to the breath and follow it in and out of the body. Just like we did right at the beginning, noticing which parts of the body are touching the floor, which parts of the body aren't in contact, and which parts of the body transition between the two. Parts of the back might be lifting on and off the floor, very subtly, or it might be quite distinctly. And I want you to bring a mantra into this practice of relaxation. Thinking to yourself, I breathe in strength, strengthening my body, my mind, and my soul. As you inhale, thinking, I breathe in strength. As you exhale, strengthening my body, my mind, and my soul. Becoming more and more relaxed, feeling the ground supporting you, knowing that your yoga practice allows us to take ourselves to places that challenge us or that we're unfamiliar with, and that we can regulate the breath, watch the heart rate, bringing it back to a place of stability, of equilibrium again. And once we can do this on our yoga mat, then we can take those lessons out into the world off of our yoga mat. I breathe in strength, strengthening my body, my mind, and my soul. And gradually, I want you to focus more on the inhales, letting them become deeper, fuller, thinking of them as energizing the body. Start to bring in small movements with fingers and toes. Maybe having a stretch or a yawn, or choosing to hug the knees over the chest. Maybe taking the feet wide and windscreen wipering the legs from side to side. Slowly make your way onto your side. Resting there. And when you're ready, letting your head be the last thing to come up, press the hands into the ground to press yourself into a seated position. Bringing your hands in front of your heart. Take a lovely deep inhale. And as you exhale, take a bow to yourself, to your practice. May you walk through this life with strength, courage, and resilience. Namaste.